Viola Davis's story is not just a journey from rags to riches, it's a testament to the unbreakable strength of the human spirit. Born on August 11, 1965, in St. Matthews, South Carolina, Viola grew up in a world that seemed determined to keep her small. Her family lived in extreme poverty, they often went without heat, food, or proper clothing. Viola has spoken openly about the humiliation she faced as a child, how she would steal food just to survive, how her family's home was infested with rats, and how she felt invisible in a world that didn't see black girls like her as worthy of dreams. But within her small frame burned a fire that no hardship could extinguish. She dreamed of more, not because the world told her she could have it, but because deep down, she knew she was born to create something extraordinary. As a child, Viola discovered her escape in the world of performance. When she acted, she could transform her pain into power, her fears into freedom. Every time she stood on stage, she became someone else, someone strong, beautiful, fearless. Acting gave her purpose, but it also gave her healing. That realization shaped her entire destiny. In high school, teachers began to notice her rare talent. She won a scholarship to Rhode Island College, then later attended the prestigious Juilliard School, something few students from her background ever dreamed possible. But even there, Viola faced obstacles. She often felt out of place among her wealthier, white classmates. She had to work twice as hard to prove she belonged. But she never gave up. She learned to channel that discomfort into authenticity, into the raw, emotional performances that would one day shake audiences to their core. Viola's early years as an actress were far from glamorous. After graduating from Juilliard, she struggled to find work. Casting directors overlooked her, typecasting her into stereotypical roles or rejecting her entirely because she didn't fit Hollywood's narrow image of beauty. For years, she worked in theater and took small parts in film and television, roles that barely paid the bills. There were moments of doubt, nights when she questioned whether she had chosen the right path. But Viola's heart refused to surrender. She once said, "They say dreams don't come true, but they do. You have to have courage, persistence, and faith." That belief carried her through every rejection, every closed door, every heartbreak. Her big break came on the stage. Viola became a powerhouse in the theater world, winning her first Tony Award for her role in King Hedley II in 2001. The performance was electrifying, raw, emotional, unforgettable. It announced to the world that Viola Davis was a force to be reckoned with. But it was her performance in Fences that truly elevated her into legend. Sharing the stage with Denzel Washington, Viola's portrayal of Rose Maxon was soul-shattering. The audience didn't just watch her, they felt her. As Viola Davis's star continued to rise, she began to redefine what it meant to be a Hollywood actress. She wasn't chasing glamour or fame, she was chasing truth. Every character she played was layered with authenticity, heartbreak, and humanity. She refused to let her art be shallow, every performance was an exploration of what it meant to be human. Viola once said, "I became an artist because we are the only profession that celebrates what it means to live a life." And that philosophy became the backbone of her career. Each project she chose wasn't about prestige, it was about purpose. After The Help, Viola became a voice for representation in Hollywood. She was no longer just an actress playing roles, she was a trailblazer demanding that black stories, female stories, and working-class stories be told with dignity and complexity. She spoke openly about colorism, about how darker-skinned actresses were often sidelined, and about the need for Hollywood to evolve beyond tokenism. Many feared speaking such truths would harm their careers, but Viola spoke anyway. Her courage turned her into not just an artist, but an activist. She began using her platform to advocate for social change, equal pay, and diversity in storytelling. When Viola Davis spoke, people listened, not because she was famous, but because she was fearless. Her career reached another peak when she reunited with Denzel Washington to adapt Fences into a feature film in 2016. Having already won a Tony for the stage version, Viola brought even greater emotional power to the screen. Her portrayal of Rose Maxon was raw, painful, and breathtakingly human. In one unforgettable scene, she stood in front of Denzel's character, tears streaming down her face, and unleashed years of suppressed rage and disappointment. That moment wasn't acting, it was truth. When she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, it wasn't just a victory for Viola. It was a victory for every woman who had ever been overlooked, every artist who had been told they weren't enough. In her acceptance speech, she said, "I became an artist, and thank God I did, because we are the only profession that celebrates what it means to live a life." Those words resonated across the world. But success didn't make Viola forget where she came from. She often spoke about her childhood in Central Falls, Rhode Island, the hunger, the shame, the desperation, and how those experiences shaped her empathy. She turned her pain into purpose, investing in education, housing, and social justice initiatives. She became a philanthropist who understood what it meant to need help because she had once been that little girl who needed it too. Through her foundation and advocacy, she gave voice to the voiceless, becoming a symbol of strength for underprivileged communities everywhere. Despite her extraordinary rise, Viola's story wasn't defined by fame, but by how she used that fame to transform others' lives. After winning her Oscar, she didn't fade into comfort, she doubled down on purpose. Viola began speaking openly about colorism, representation, and the psychological wounds of poverty. She revealed that even when she walked red carpets, she sometimes still felt like that little girl from Central Falls who smelled of hunger. That brutal honesty made millions of women around the world relate to her on a human level, not as a movie star, but as a survivor. She became living proof that success doesn't erase your scars, it gives you the microphone to speak about them. In interviews, she often said that owning your story was the most powerful act of freedom. "The two most important days of your life," she said, quoting Mark Twain, "are the day you're born and the day you find out why." For her, the why was to be a mirror for everyone who ever thought they were invisible. Her success in Fences and The Help opened doors, but Viola refused to walk through them alone, she held them open for others. She created Juvie Productions with her husband Julius Tenen, a company focused on telling stories that Hollywood ignored. The goal wasn't just to produce movies, but to rewrite the narrative of who gets to be seen, heard, and celebrated. Viola often described Juvie as her second revolution, the first being survival, the second being legacy. She wanted young black girls to see their beauty on screen not as a token, but as truth. Every project she chose carried that intention. How to Get Away with Murder made her the first African-American woman to win an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama, but it was her acceptance speech that went viral. She said, "The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity. You cannot win an Emmy for roles that are simply not there." That one sentence became a lightning bolt in Hollywood, shaking the system to its core. But even with her success, Viola never stopped being real. She often said she still shopped for discount furniture, still cooked her own meals, and still felt nervous before every performance. Her humility was magnetic. When asked how she stayed grounded, she said, "Because I remember everything I crawled through to get here." From a childhood surrounded by rats and hunger to becoming a global icon, her story wasn't luck, it was persistence in the face of repeated rejection. There were hundreds of auditions that ended in no, but every no was another layer of armor, another reason to prove that her dreams were worth fighting for. Viola taught that success is not about applause, it's about healing the parts of yourself that once felt unworthy. She also became a fierce advocate for mental health and self-acceptance, reminding people that you don't have to pretend to be perfect to be powerful. Even after achieving the kind of success most actors only dream about, Viola Davis never stopped evolving. Her journey wasn't a straight path to stardom, it was a lifelong transformation, one layer at a time. Fame had never been her destination, truth had. She once said, "You can't live a brave life without heartbreak." And that became the foundation of her philosophy. She believed that greatness is not measured by applause or wealth, but but by how much truth you are willing to carry, how much vulnerability you can turn into strength, and how much courage you show in moments when the world tries to silence you. Viola began choosing roles that challenged not just her as an actress, but the audience as human beings. She didn't want to play perfect women, she wanted to play real ones, women with scars, fear, desire, and rage. When she starred in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, she disappeared into the role of the fierce blues legend, embodying a woman who refused to be erased. Not because she was famous, but because she was fearless. Her speeches were more like revelations than words, she made people cry, think, and act. But behind the camera, Viola was also building a legacy at home. Her marriage to Julius Tenen became a quiet example of love, strength, and partnership. Together, they adopted their daughter, Genesis, and built a life filled with warmth and laughter. Viola often said that motherhood healed her in ways fame never could. "When my daughter calls me mommy," she said, "it feels like a second chance at joy." She learned that success is hollow if it isn't rooted in love. Even during long shoots and world tours, she never forgot to pause, to cook a meal, to dance in her kitchen, to sit on her porch and breathe. Those were the moments that reminded her of why she fought so hard, to live fully, not just achieve. In public speeches, Viola would often reflect on how far she had come.